All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 20 of the 5 Star Podcast. And this week, we'll be talking about the current rate environments, buyer and sellers, and, how to get into the market.
Nice intro.
Yes,
Intro.
you nailed it, bro. You nailed it.
That's better than my try.
No, that was good.
It's all good.
That was good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah. So basically, what is the market doing right now, and our predictions? So is this a good time to buy right now? That's what we're talking about.
You know what? Honestly, I think everybody may say that it's a bad time. I think it's actually a great time to buy.
Typical realtor.
Yeah.
I actually
Make a sale, bro. You just
believe
trying to
that
make a
right now too.
It's not me trying to sell anything. Honestly, it's my honest opinion because we're seeing the prices already at its low.
I've seen some like not necessarily my deals, but like some deals are like getting $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 lower than asking price. Some are like $100,000. So if you calculate that and next year the rates come down, you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the way I see it is that the prices are relatively low. There's not many competitions for people looking at, homes. We're not bid wars. There's no bid wars.
Oh, I hate bid wars.
Right. And, people can take their time and evaluate different properties, take their time and, put in the right number.
What do you say to people that say, but what if it goes lower?
Well, you never know what's going to happen at the end of the day. But at the end of the day right now is that we're already at a relatively low market or market price right now because, we have to look at it from this perspective is that our economic state right now is pretty artificially created by the government, right? Like our current recession state,
man.
Right? I mean, we are in a recession. Like, guys, I don't know, media hasn't talked about it, but we are in a recession because we've had multiple quarters now where we've had a contraction in terms of our, production and our spendings, right? So we're seeing that it's actually the recession is actually created by this government that is raising interest rates. So once we're in a recession and a deep enough recession where the government's like, well, we need to do something now. What are they going to do?
Pretty easy to
Throw money into the market.
Right? What are they going to do? They're going to lower the rates, right?
It's pretty easy.
And what happens when we lower the rates?
It's gonna
Bid War City. We're back.
Then people start
Here we go.
rushing back into the
Here we
market.
go.
So everybody right now is on hold, waiting to buy.
It's actually not the best strategy to just be on the sideline right now.
Aside from the rate increase, there are a number of global issues, right?
Very true.
We can't sugarcoat it. There are some geopolitical instability elsewhere worldwide. Everyone knows that. From all the concerns with war, there are a number of refugees and people immigrating out of their country,
Right.
and they find Canada as a good, kind of a safe haven, and they are driving some of the demand, but because of the interest rates and their personal status, they haven't got their permanent resident yet. They haven't gotten to the point where they're able to purchase. So
would you say it's a good time to buy, or do you think it's a bad time to buy?
well, it's the calm before the storm, right? When things settle down, obviously they have the confidence again. Kind of a good time to get your feet wet and enter the market, because once you have the lower interest rates, prices are going to go high.
Yeah.
I
Right.
think
So therefore, my opinion is that it's a great time to buy right now, right? Because
should at least consider it. Yeah.
Let's say we wait until spring and they lower the rates.
Forget
or let's
it.
say they wait until the summer and they lower the rates.
forget
And
it.
what happens is surge in marketplace,
buying
and all of a
behind.
sudden you're no longer in control of the price. You're no longer in control of conditions and
Yeah.
protections for yourself. Right, you're no longer in control of what house you want to buy.
Absolutely.
Right. So there's so much more advantages right now to buy. Yes, the downside is that you have to suck up and
You got to qualify first.
you got to suck it up
Yeah,
and
yeah.
look at the interest rates and pay the extra, a little bit on the interest rates. But the good thing is that you buy a house, the price is fixed, right? That price is not going to change after you buy it, right? But the interest rates, it can change.
You know what I always hear afterwards? A lot of people, they're like, "Oh, I should have bought it 3 months ago, 4 months ago,"
Yeah.
or like, "Oh, I should have sold it at this time." You always hear people just backtracking. It's like, oh, I should have done this.
Right.
Oh, if I knew, I would have done that.
It usually happens with instability. So what happened when it was?
But there's always going to be instability, right? Like,
no, major
It's
catastrophes.
It's mass thinking, right?
It's mass thinking.
It's mass thinking.
But,
so
like-
everyone's like, oh, we're waiting, and everyone's like, okay, well, we're all
Speculation,
waiting.
yeah.
Like, well,
But no one
what
knows
are
what
we
they're waiting for. What are you
No,
waiting
so-
for?
I mean, the major dips in history, we have like SARS, right? We had Lehman's, like the bank crisis, the mortgage crisis.
Well, think about all the people that waited for COVID, right? Like, I
COVID?
mean, they basically is like, oh yeah, I don't know about this. I don't know.
Yeah.
You ask anyone today, should you have bought during the beginning of the pandemic?
For sure.
100%.
100%.
1000%.
So 2023, 2022, I would say these 2 years, the major theme is war.
Yeah.
War has to be the major concern on the back of
It's no longer
a lot of people's minds.
Kind of over.
do you really think war is something on someone's mind when they're looking at buying a house?
Not in Toronto.
no, but think about it. You have
I don't-
family.
I
you
mean,
have
it
relatives.
plays a little bit of a factor.
A little bit, but I
Because
don't.
it
I don't think
changes-
that's a big factor
no,
at
yeah,
all.
not here in Canada, right? Not here. We're not the.
No, I'm not going to.
Like, I mean, the interest rates are really just going to be
It's
Like-
influenced. Like the rates are going to be
the
influenced.
war
by
influences
but
the general economy, and then that kind of affects us through indirectly with like interest rates and inflation and all that, right?
I'm just being honest. Like, I'm not sure if
People
you,
won't
you
consider
may or may
war.
not know, but some Canadians actually they have to rush back to their home country to fight for.
Or-
Yeah, but how
They're
many
right.
is that though? A very small percentage.
Fair enough, but those are buy mindset, right? We're talking about mass psychology.
I mean,
mass
it does not
psychology is
consider
that
about
you know
war.
what? Like they listen to media, listen to social media. Everyone's talking about, oh, hey, you know what? Interest rates are too high right now, so we're just gonna wait, right? Because it's a lazy way of thinking, right? If you don't really think through the full issue, right? And just like, oh yeah, you know what? Like I want to get in the market, but interest rates are so high, so like it's okay. It's an excuse.
because everyone
right?
says
Because
that you just
everyone
don't-
waits.
No one does their own research. No one actually does their own thinking.
Exactly. But if you were to really if our buyers came to me and said, hey, this is the right time to buy, I would be like, I think it's actually a great time to
Yeah,
buy.
there's-
Let's see if we can qualify you
Yeah.
to purchase something now. Right. And if we can't qualify you, then okay, well, look at alternative options and look at what we need to do to help you get into
Exactly.
the market.
Like Warren Buffett says, right? You should be buying when there's fear in the market, and now's a
Should be
great time.
active, yeah.
My clients that bought after the 9/11 attack got a steal of a deal.
Yeah.
If you bought at the beginning of the pandemic, you get a steal of a deal.
Yeah.
That didn't last long.
It was a small window. It was like a 6
very
month
small
window.
And now we just got out of COVID, and now we have two wars that are currently in the news. Here is an opportunity. If people don't take this opportunity now, they're going to miss the
Yo,
train
you know
again.
what? Here's a thought. Like, I mean, it's kind of random, but do you think people are just generally more distracted about like world news that they don't even look at what's in front of them?
I think that might be a very good point.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, because people are worried about war, worried about COVID.
It puts them
But-
on the fence, but I don't think it
does.
stops them.
It doesn't stop them,
proceeding
but
with
then
the
because
purchases,
they're
yeah.
distracted from what they want to actually achieve, then they're like, oh, my neighbor said this. Oh, this guy said that. I heard on the news this. They're just
Yeah.
being distracted. But then if they focused on one thing, they would have already got the deal. They would have been in the market.
Yeah, because I have some very smart friends that have been renting for over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
Very smart, 6 income earners, and the problem is they're too smart. They look at all the
That's true.
possible variables,
Yeah.
that all the conditions, the world economy, wars, interest rates, the mentality in the market. It's just way too many things. It's in the end, do you want to buy or don't you want to buy?
Yeah, sometimes you just got to YOLO.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really.
It's
So
never
they're-
a good
so they're on the
analysis
fence.
paralysis,
They're just going to be renters for life, and
Yeah.
Well,
Not
Analysis
ever-
paralysis. seriously.
Well, they're always gonna.
It's never a good time. It's
I
never a
mean-
good time. There's always something.
Yeah, if they overanalyze, they're always
Yeah.
going to come up with an excuse not to buy.
exactly.
It may
Yeah.
be a stigma of bankers over analyzing certain
Just
factors.
There are some
about
people
real
that
estate, and
overthink.
There's
They end up
there's,
not buying.
there's always 100 reasons to say no. Is that one reason to say yes strong enough to override
Right.
those?
So in general, it's a good time for buyers to get into the market.
What
Absolutely.
about
Regardless
sellers?
of speculation.
I mean,
What about sellers?
Yeah. What are they experiencing right now?
Let's talk about our
Like,
listings,
sellers-
guys.
sellers
Let's talk
have
about our
to-
listings.
Yes.
So here's the things that we all have listings that we're trying to sell to right now in the market, And what are we experiencing? Like showings are very low,
Very slow.
low.
right? Very
slow.
low.
You
and
might
very
get
slow.
2 a week on a good week.
That,
On a good week.
if that,
Yeah.
depending on how you
Yeah.
how you're marketing it,
And
how
where
you're
you are,
pricing
all
it,
this, yeah,
and
yeah.
like what
Like-
kind of attention you're getting to it.
Don't get me wrong. There are some anomalies that sell fairly quickly,
Mm-hmm.
but it's very, very rare. And
Yes.
what I've noticed is usually in York region.
Mm-hmm.
So like lately.
Yeah.
In the
Well, I
last
think
month or 2
things are
months.
still selling. You just have
They
to try
are.
harder
They
now.
are.
Like you have to present the house better. You
Yeah.
have to do professional photography. Don't take a picture with your cell phone and post it and
Oh,
be
it's not gonna
lazy
work.
because those don't work anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know what? Bid wars work, but it's very selective on what house works.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
50-50 right
for
now.
the bid wars. It doesn't always
30,
work. So
70 even.
don't.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of realtors would tell you that let's just do a bid war, right? We'll get the
Yes.
buyers in, but
Not
you know,
do
if there's 10 other houses on the market in your neighborhood that is selling, right, or 10 other condo units selling
Yeah.
in the same
Mhm.
condo, why would you use a bid war strategy?
You know where
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of bid wars? York region.
No, they still
No,
try
York
it.
region.
They still try
Markham,
it.
Richmond Hill,
That's,
and
still,
Vaughan.
that's all they grew up with.
Yeah.
That's all they know.
It's still like doesn't matter what's happening in the world. It's a bid war.
You know,
It doesn't matter.
But
you
it
know
doesn't- it doesn't
Kleinberg's in
move
that.
York region, right?
Kleinberg represent.
Yeah,
Do you know anyone who lives there? Who lives in Kleinberg?
Really nice people live in
That's
Kleinberg.
right. Represent Kleinberg.
No, but joking aside, in terms of observation that I see, the in terms of price point actually affects buyers taking money out from their country. So I find so a lot of the listings that are above $10 million,
Mhm.
they're actually moving quicker than I expected. So there was one listing near my neighborhood. It was actually asking for 18 million,
Mhm.
and within about 2 weeks, it's sold at 17.1. So where are these buyers coming from?
Well, yeah,
I'm-
but
I'm
that's a
just-
specialty market. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
that's
no,
very
be honest,
unique though.
Yeah, like
No, it's not
$18 million.
unique. No, no.
18 million is not
I
unique.
mean,
No, it's not. It's not. I'm saying there's trends for buyers buying land, and
Mhm.
they're usually above $10 million.
Yeah.
So they're buying.
There's still definitely
Well,
money in
I
the
mean, if
market.
you're buying land like
Yeah.
at 10 million, they're probably looking at developing that land.
I
or
think
building their
No,
own
no,
custom home or
rebuilding.
something,
Rebuilding
right?
their
I-
custom home.
I
They're usually
think-
one lot.
$18 million
I mean, that's a
homes
very-
or land would be more exclusive to the 1%.
Yeah, I would think so
If-
too.
if-
Well, here,
Like
no, here's-
0.001%.
No, here's an
yeah,
observation.
even less than
because-
1%.
Yeah.
So I would, because there is war right now. There's a lot of money from foreign countries.
Agreed.
So what
Yeah.
they're bringing their money
They're
over.
they're bringing
Agreed.
money over. They're
Let's-
parking
You
it.
know what? I guess everyone has their own decisions on what they want to do with their
Mhm.
money.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's their freedom of choice. But you know, I have clients that have bringing like multi-millions of dollars from overseas.
Mhm.
They're buying, a regular property that they would live in, and then they'll buy a bunch of other properties to invest in.
Mhm.
Well, like
Right,
you said
to
earlier,
either
right?
grow
It
their
is
assets.
a buyer's market. So
Yeah.
if you have the money now and you have the options to pick and choose out of the lot, right? Why not pick the best? Why not pick the ones that kind of fit your budget?
Yeah. So sellers, Kenny's already said sellers gotta have professional pictures taken.
Well, definitely want to have a good presentation.
Yeah,
right?
you got to present
So-
it well. You know, during the
Yeah.
bid wars days in the spring, people would just put it up randomly, don't stage it.
Yeah, take a Google
No,
photo, slap it on
phone
there.
pictures. You know,
basically.
Yeah.
It was
Or
you
not
know
even
it was
iPhone, it was-
sloppy, man.
Unless your
Sloppy
price
jobs.
reflects the condition of your home, right? Then it will sell. But if you're trying to price it at market value, then you better bring it up to market standard in terms of presentation.
And even that's not even guarantee in today's climate.
Well, I mean, it gives you that
it gives
better
you a little
opportunity
Yeah,
to
like don't be sloppy for
sell.
sure.
Yeah.
But
If
I
you're a
find
seller,
if you have a good home and it's priced well,
Yes.
it will still sell
Yeah.
in today's market.
Yeah.
but I think like for sellers, if you're like if your house is just not in good shape,
Mhm.
I would recommend just doing the necessary things to like fix the light, fix the wall, repaint.
Yeah.
Do the things necessary to maintain your home first, and then you list it properly.
Well, the buyers are getting
Right.
really picky.
They're
They're
very
coming.
picky.
They're
Yeah.
coming with the home inspector.
Mhm.
They're doing all sorts of reports, like checking the well water, doing the sump pump. If you're in rural,
Mhm.
Very picky.
very
100%.
picky. Everything they would
Buyer's
want
market,
everything
right?
fixed up.
Yeah.
Make sure all the appliances are working.
I mean,
to their
again,
standard.
if it's priced that reflects that all the fixing, right? Because not all sellers want to do all the extra work to get their
No.
property on the market.
Mhm.
So as long as your price is correct and in the market like range, then it would make sense,
Yeah.
right? You're not going to price. So if a house is, if a regular house that is fully like finished and it's like ready to sell on the market and it sells for 1.8, and your house is, dated and it needs a little bit of work or it needs a lot of work, right? You're not going to price it at 1.8. Right?
Yeah.
You're going to want to price it lower to
According-
reflect
yeah,
the renovation cost,
Yeah.
to reflect all the different things that they want to make changes to. So you just got to price it correctly. That's the bottom line.
So there's a couple instances when the seller cannot sell, they end up leasing it, like renting, going
lot
to the
of-
rental
yeah.
market
Yeah.
A lot of
because they don't want to give it away.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Well, what's your definition of giving it away?
like selling at a significant loss.
Loss. Well, okay. Is it a loss? It is. It's a loss, but
Well, for
It-
example, if the market previously at the peak was 1.5, 1.6, and today's market is like 1.2, 1.3, buyers are coming in at under one, like 900,
Well, they can
990,
try.
There are some
They can
lowballers.
try.
right? So
Yeah.
will your seller, give it away at under $1 million?
Well, according to the
And-
stats, they're not.
yeah.
Year over year, September to September last year, like
went
we're
up.
still up
It went up.
3% across the board.
But why? But the thing is, if your seller is in the position of holding it, why do you have to give it away at $1 million when you can hold it for
Well, they
5
wouldn't.
years,
They wouldn't.
10 years?
Yeah, they wouldn't sell it. I mean,
They
this
wouldn't
is what
sell
we're
it.
seeing right now.
What
So that's
agent
my
would
point.
actually advise them to take that deal? If it's
Well,
no,
well
me.
below market value.
You
Not
don't.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you
Would you,
so,
Steve?
No, I'm
Well,
sure they
think
exist.
about
No,
it.
what you're saying.
My point is, you would go to the rental market, right?
Yeah, you'd rent it out
Obvious.
versus just
Better than leaving it vacant.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably a better
Yeah.
solution.
let's talk about interest rates for a sec here.
Yeah.
So where are we going with this, guys? What do you think?
We're pausing. We're
October
pausing.
25th. You calling a pause?
Pause.
I think it's a pause too.
Pause.
I think it's a pause.
Yeah, based on the recent news, I mean, I think they're pausing for the next week. Sorry,
I
it's
wish
on
we had
October
someone in the
25th.
mortgage industry who could.
But
fill
you
us-
know what?
Oh,
Like, it's funny. You have
Funny. You can
Wait a sec. You know about this.
Yeah.
What do you
well,
think? What's your prediction?
Honestly, before, based on the news and such, I was thinking it would possibly go up. But now, yeah, hopefully the government does a pause. Inflation's gone down.
Yep.
The war does not help the situation. And
Got some layoffs too. Like, didn't Scotiabank just recently announce a layoff?
did they?
Yeah, they did.
That's
So we're
across
finally
all banks.
So we're finally seeing the signs of like,
Recession.
recession,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And honestly, we are in a recession. People
Yeah.
it's very evident. But
Mhm.
it's just the media or the government hasn't announced that like we're in a recession.
They haven't
So-
necessarily- yeah.
Recession with inflation.
Yeah.
No, inflation's down.
Oh yeah, down 2 months consecutive, right? August,
Mhm.
September.
But it's still affecting buyers
Yeah.
and,
Right. Well, I mean,
sellers
what's
the same way.
The interest rate is still affecting the buyer's like overall cost.
Yeah.
yeah.
Right? And what they can qualify for, right? And that's the biggest thing is that, and that's what sellers probably don't like. They cannot accept, right? It's hard for them to accept that.
Yeah.
Is that the interest rates are still relatively high and they can't get qualified
Mm-hmm.
for those prices that they want.
Yes.
And also, like, I mean, because the interest rates have gone up so quickly, so much, affecting sellers right now, their monthly has more than
Skyrocketed.
doubled
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
from what it was at one point.
Yeah,
Yes.
especially if you're on a
Um,
variable for sure.
So for a lot of the sellers, they are feeling the crunch, right?
Mhm.
Because the original stress test might have only put them at 5, but we've already exceeded that,
Mhm.
Mhm.
right? So some of them are way over the stress.
What's
Yeah.
the fixed rate, right, Woody, right now? 5-year fix.
Right now, about in the sixes.
yeah,
6.
I heard
Yeah.
5-year fix is
Yeah.
about 6.35.
Yeah.
So that's market. That's like posted rate.
Yeah.
That's not like negotiated.
So we all agree it's a good time to get into the market. How can someone get into the market today? If
Yeah.
you are
Like
just a
some
newly grad,
strategies and whatnot.
if you are a renter, or if you're just looking to buy, save up, what are my
What would you do? Steve?
options?
So I'm
I'm
If
asking
you-
you. I'm tabling
think,
it.
So I think first of all, sellers have got to realize that the market has slowed down, and market rate for your home has unfortunately decreased from 3 months ago. So that's a reality. If sellers want to sell, they have to sell at current market rates, not 3 months ago. And buyers have to come in at a fair price. As you mentioned, sellers want to sell, but they're not desperate. they can easily rent out. So if the seller is willing to accept market rate and the buyer is coming in with good intentions of buying at a fair price, a deal can be done.
Yeah.
But no one's coming in and getting a steal of a
Still,
deal
yeah.
because as we can see, there's lots of supply in the market, but prices have actually risen slightly because
So I think it really depends on the sellers, because if they're in a bit of a distressed situation, like we're just talking about, their rates are so expensive now that they can't even afford it, right? Or it's putting a lot of pressure on their savings or their own lifestyle, that they want to be able to downsize and move into something smaller so that they can afford their mortgage and afford their house, right? Then they're gonna sell.
So
right?
you guys may have missed my question. So let me rephrase. Okay, if I am just a newly grad, I just moved out, rent for me is $2,800 a month. I have a first job. I'm getting paid $40,000 a year.
Wait, how do you
that
afford
doesn't add up,
2,800
actually. Yeah,
and
that
paying
doesn't add
40,000?
up.
How did that
Yeah.
happen?
Well, I have a roommate. Okay, so
Yeah.
we're splitting the rent. What are my strategies to save, get into the market, stay in Toronto?
bank of mom and dad.
Aside from
In that-
aside
true,
from
yeah.
kids,
Well,
yes,
I
of
mean,
course.
I think
But-
your
but
question,
my-
I think
my-
what you're trying to ask is, how is a buyer supposed to buy something in today's climate,
Yeah.
market climate?
Well, he's
right?
saying first time
I've
buyer.
asked that.
In that question
You guys
specifically,
missed it.
don't move out. Don't pay that rent because it's not helping you, right?
Yeah.
Why
Agree.
are you paying
Move back
$2,800 with a
home and
roommate?
save.
Yeah,
Yes.
Honestly,
Yo,
Well, okay, that's,
Take
that's
that-
one,
yeah,
that's
take
one
that-
option.
take that
That's
ego,
definitely one option,
right?
do it.
right? If that option is even available, right?
Okay,
Because
let's-
some people that option
Yeah,
is not
we
available
got
to them,
you.
right?
Yeah.
So what would you do if you didn't have that option?
So
to
if
move
you
home?
don't have that option, I mean,
Of
move
going
smaller.
home?
Well, it depends, right? So I would look
Lower
at. I mean,
expenses.
one thing is I would evaluate like quickly. Is like, okay, well, do you have any savings? Like, do you have money for a down payment? Right? How much do you have saved for a down payment? Right? And if they don't have enough, then okay, well, I would advise people to leverage the government programs that are available. Right? First time home savings plan.
You know what?
First time home
So
buyers plan.
Right
TFSA.
now, I was looking at first time home buyers and some of the incentives. You can buy at 5 or 10% down. You don't
Yes.
need 20%.
Absolutely, you can
Right?
buy 5% down.
So, like for a lot of listeners, they have that misconception. It's like, hey, I need to save 20% in order for me to think about buying. That's a myth.
Yeah,
That's untrue.
5% is the minimum still, right?
5% is the minimum. Of course, you still
of
have
course,
to,
you have to
like,
qualify
talk
for
to-
the difference.
You got to qualify for the difference,
It's a
but
big
again,
mortgage.
5% is something, and then there's the government program up to 500,000, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So, can you elaborate a little bit? Like, has anything changed since?
Yeah, so there's government programs where, and there's also other lenders that will contribute 10%, 15% towards the purchase price,
Yeah.
and they essentially co-own it with you.
They have a piece of it.
Correct. So this allows you to get into the market. Yes, you are giving up potential equity and profits when you sell, but it is what it is.
You're not renting.
Yeah,
Right.
like
You're-
5% or 50% of something is better than 0% of nothing.
yeah.
So if you could use your 5 or 10% down to get into the market to buy something, it's better than waiting on the sideline, getting nothing at all, and trying to save for the next 2-3 years, because you can be damn sure once interest rates are lowered or the government provides some kind of kick to the economy to get it started back up again, price is going to easily rise 10% within months.
Mhm.
So what do you think about this? What would be a better option to your question for a first time homebuyer just finished school, has a little bit of savings? Would you suggest pre-con or in the resale market right now?
Well, I mean, pre-con you still have to evaluate how much money they have and how fast they can produce money, right? Because pre-construction may not be the right option for them if they're coming out of school, right? I mean, unless they have
Well,
Bank of Mom and Dad
Yeah,
behind
maybe
them.
5% right off the bat.
Well,
like
10%
30
for the
days,
builder
right?
for sure.
well, 5%,
With the first year.
30 days.
20%,
Yeah.
right? Even in like some of the extended deposits, you're still looking at 2 years.
Yes.
Like, how people are going to come up with 20%?
Well, they
of
got to
down
save.
payment?
So let's say they
all
have
that
20%.
money.
Let's say they have 20%,
Okay.
Bank of Mom and Dad,
Okay.
whatever. Would you
Alright,
suggest going into a pre-con, which is 3 to 4 years out, or getting into the resale market right now?
We have buyers that are teaming up with friends or cousins, 2-3 people teaming up to buy a pre-con. That's a great way to get in the market. Teaming up with family and or friends that you trust to buy one place works. One of my neighbors right behind me, He bought in Brampton 5,000 square feet pre-COVID for $900 and so thousand dollars. Between him and his wife, his brother and his wife, and his parents, 5,000 square feet for 3 families, that worked. They sold it after COVID. Each of them got a separate home each.
Nice.
That's key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So wouldn't that be messy though? Mixing family and
I was
finances.
just about to say that if you have a spouse or if you have a partner, something happened along the way, and you decide to
You gotta
split,
write it in
what-
the
how
contract.
do you
You know what?
how do you
It-
protect
it-
yourself as a
Well,
First time.
To be honest,
always
a lot of people do this right now.
there's always complexities to every relationship and or business arrangement, but if you have no choice, this is a solution.
True.
I mean, that's how my parents got into their first home. Is
How?
like our
Partnering
parents,
with another
partnering
family.
with their own family.
Amazing.
Family, right? Like we lived together in one home, and then like we end up selling it, and then buying equity getting equity and buying another property, right? But that's how
That's
a
a
lot of
good
people do it right
strategy
now.
for a lot of the first-time home buyers, and
I bought my first home with my sister.
there's
Well,
nothing wrong with that. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong. There's no ego here. It's just how do you get in the
Well,
market?
I
So
guess
there's-
it's
so
getting in the market, right?
So there's also advantage of the down payment and higher income. You combine your income
Mhm.
to qualify for a larger mortgage.
Yeah.
Which is
I mean, needless to
Obviously-
say, like if you're a partner, they better have some good income and good credit as well.
Yeah.
You don't want to partner with someone that's like dragging you down, right?
And some people don't realize a second person on a mortgage may actually damage your situation, because if that person has debt or poor credit,
Mm-hmm.
It's all counted as one, isn't it?
Changes
Yeah.
the ratios.
it's,
Yeah.
it's, got- it's
That's
not
true.
going to improve.
That's true. Yeah.
Like if they have a car payment, if they're YOLOing, living their best life, and you've got no savings, bad credit, much debt,
Driving luxury car on debt.
it's
That's not
fronting
good.
for the gram.
it's actually going to lowering your
Yeah.
borrowing capacity.
Yeah, right.
So
As a whole.
Yeah.
As a whole.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So also like we also touched mentioned that when you buy into pre-construction or any type of down payment, intrinsically the first couple of years you are struggling.
yes,
You are in debt. You feel like you have to repay or kind of recoup your investment.
agreed.
It's a good way to save. Like you have to. It forces everyone to just spend less.
Mhm.
Don't go on that vacation.
Rethink,
Don't get that.
rethink
Yeah,
your, don't get that
reassess. Don't get that nice
$5-6
car.
latte every day.
Don't get
reconsider
cut back
a little
on
bit.
latte. Maybe even bring your lunch.
Mhm.
Hey,
It's true that
no
maybe
latte.
some
cook a little bit more. There's a lot
Cook
of
a little
things
more.
that you can
Okay,
help. But
so Steve's idea to buy houses to make lunch at home.
Brown bag.
it
that.
does help. It
Brown
does
bag.
help. So I mean,
Every
in terms
penny
of like,
counts,
let's sum it up in terms of the strategies for saving. Is one is like either you live at home,
Yeah.
save money,
Yes.
or two, brown bag everything.
no.
Well, I mean, honestly, like you
Live
gotta
below
be able to
your
look
means
at
is what
your
he's
Your
saying.
lifestyle,
Live below your
yeah.
means, right?
Your lifestyle.
Live below your means.
Yeah. At the end of the day, is you got to break down your finances and
sure.
see what you can afford, right? So if you have to pay rent, pay your rent, right? How much disposable income do you have
Mhm.
left over, right? Put a percentage of that towards some kind of program. I'm telling you, like first time
Yeah.
savings home plan,
Mhm, mhm,
right? TFSA,
mhm.
right? The
Oh, what's that new
RRSPs,
program called?
First time home savings plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, the savings plan. Yeah, sorry, right. No, because I heard the TFSA, but then I'm like, oh shoot. I was like,
Guys, for a fact, the number one expense, and most clients are doing this, is
Mhm.
getting rid of the car, the
Yeah.
insurance, the gas.
Yeah.
That you have to, the carrying cost for a car, especially if you are living in the core,
it's crazy.
you have
expensive.
other options. You can do
Absolutely.
take the public transit, take a scooter, e-bike, or even carpool, Uber.
That's if that's available. That's if that makes sense. For
If you're in
your
that
living
area-
situation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, so you're saying it makes sense to keep a car if you have the options.
I
don't-
think
well,
it's
it depends on
If you don't
everyone's
need
life.
it, then there's no
it's-
point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it depends on everyone's life, right? Everyone's life situation is different. You can't tell one person to do
Yeah,
not do this to buy a house.
It's
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 the
a
highest
strategy.
expense.
I
Yeah.
think
It
I
is
think
one way to save.
Yes, I think a vehicle, taking away a vehicle is a strategy.
So
It may not
Yeah.
work for everybody, and it depends on your income. If you're making minimum wage, living $2,000 a month
Yeah,
downtown
buying a car
core,
is horrible
you
investment.
shouldn't be getting
It's-
$1,000 a month.
I don't
Yes,
believe in
right?
buying
Yeah, you
depreciating
don't need it.
assets. Cars are the
Yeah.
worst investment you can
But
make.
however, if you live in the burbs and you have to get to work, and it's either 2 hours public transit to work or a 45-minute drive, you have to make a decision.
Hey,
But
I'm gonna say something
Yeah.
polarizing, but you may even have to consider giving away your dog or cat. Like having a pet, that is
That is kinda
serious
polarizing.
expensive. That's polarizing.
that's
I know,
very-
having a pet.
but I'm saying having
Maybe
a dog.
not have a
You know
pet.
what?
like
Maybe
Rod
that's
says,
not
I
bad.
don't buy depreciating assets.
No, I mean, do you guys have?
Okay,
Do you guys,
let-
do you guys,
Steve,
have- do you
at
guys
the end of the
have?
day,
What kind of pet
at
are
the
you
end of the
talking
day,
about? What do you-
what you got to do is just evaluate your expenses,
Just-
right? And eliminate
Most
what you
definitely.
can eliminate.
Yeah, I mean-
I can't.
You gotta run lean. You gotta run
You know
lean.
what?
Okay, this is not till death
Trim-
do us part,
trim-
okay?
trim the fat.
I don't know what we're
Like,
talking about here.
I think we just got to trim the fat
Let's,
if that's
yeah.
the thing, right?
Let's go back to what sellers need to do to sell in this volatile market right now.
Yeah.
Price and
We
rate.
kinda- we
Price and
kinda
rate.
touched it. Yeah. we
Good
kinda-
photos, video tour, virtual tour,
Yes.
staging it properly, changing some colors up,
Pricing it
decluttering.
right. I think the main thing about pricing right is actually harder than it just sounds.
Yeah.
Because sellers actually have to realize what is the actual market value
Mhm.
rather than what was sold 2-3 months ago.
Agreed.
Right.
Because what was sold 2-3 months ago is no longer the same market.
Well,
as it is,
here's another
right?
thing you should actually consider is because if we are in a bit of a downward slide in a market, then you have to price your property 5% lower to catch that buyer, so that
Just
you
to
can
get
sell
showings
it fast.
first and
Because
foremost,
if
get
you,
some
if you don't,
traffic
if you
in
don't
there.
catch that buyer,
Yeah.
on the fall,
Yeah.
right, then you're gonna sit, wait, and then all of a sudden you're gonna sell 2 months later
Yeah.
at 15-20% less than what you could have gotten.
Agreed.
So don't be reactive. Get ahead of that.
You gotta
Yeah.
you gotta be proactive and look ahead, forecast what's gonna
Yeah.
happen,
Yeah.
right, in the market conditions, and then you can likely get that property sold. But the seller has to understand that,
A lot of sellers are not receptive to that idea right now.
right? Because at the end of the day, and obviously, right, because we want to be able to secure as much money as we can for the property. But it's funny, it's counterintuitive, but that is actually getting you the most money in today's market.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Are sellers selling first or are they selling after?
Oh
like,
no!
after they buy?
I would never
sell-
suggest buying first.
Well, you can't even. You
Not
can't
in this
even-
market.
You can't
Sell
even
first.
get
Not in
the,
this
the
market,
financing
no,
right
for
Sell
now.
sure, no.
first, yeah. That's a good point because I have clients who ask all the time, should we buy first or sell first?
You can't. They can't qualify for the buying.
Yeah, it's always
sell first.
Well, they
It
probably
always comes up.
qualify, but on condition that they have their home sold.
That's pretty
Yeah,
rough.
I mean,
it's the same thing.
given, right?
You just answered the
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, but I mean,
So they
yeah,
can't
they'll-
buy first.
well, they have they can get the approval, but it's conditional. But so you have
So
to
they
make
have to
sure-
sell
you
first
have to
in
make
order
sure
for
that
them to
house is
buy.
sold, right?
That's
Yeah.
the final answer.
I'm gonna say it depends on the house, on the buyer's house. If that buyer's house is nice in a nice neighborhood,
Mhm.
I would have confident of buying first.
Unless they're downsizing. Let's say if you're a downsizer, let's say you're empty nesting. Sure, you can buy something smaller first,
Yeah, if
and
you have
then
the
get that deal,
finances.
and then you can sell.
So if you're
Right.
so if you're buying in Hamilton and you sell in Toronto,
That
then
doesn't.
you can buy first.
Hamilton is a very hot market too. Like it's a very
Yeah.
rich market now.
No, well, if you're downsizing and you're moving to Hamilton, you can
You
can
can-
afford.
I mean,
Yeah, you
if
can
it's
buy
apples
first.
to apples, of course Toronto's going to be more expensive, but it's still not recommended because
Or moving to Calgary.
if your
Just
house is
different
desirable,
province.
then okay. But if your house is in pretty bad shape,
Yeah,
bad
I'm talking about
neighborhood,
the house that they're selling. If
Yeah.
that house is in good neighborhood and good condition,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's unique,
It's gonna sell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
will
then
sell.
I would
Yeah,
say,
you're-
why don't you just sell or buy first?
it depends, I guess,
really
what it comes down
depends,
to. So let's move on to roundtable predictions. Where do we see the market going in the next 3 to 6 months?
Short term
year.
and long term.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's start with Richard over there.
I think the market is gonna slowly. Well, I mean, right now we're in October, so we're moving into a slower season, right? November, December is generally very slow. January is slow, starts to pick back up,
Mhm.
right? So we're gonna see a bit of a price decline, in my opinion,
Mhm.
for the next couple of months. But then once February hits, I think and also depending on what the government does,
Mhm.
and I think government's gonna hold their rates for the next little while, right? I don't know what your opinions are, but I think they're going to hold their rates, and the market will start to pick back up around February, and it'll upward trend until government decides to do something dumb
Mhm.
again.
Woody?
I agree. If nothing else changes for the moment, we're going to see the cyclical real estate markets downtrend for December through January. You're not going to get looky-loos or individuals just walking off the street into open houses. people are in hibernation, people are on holiday. So downtrend for December, January. Come spring, naturally, listing numbers are going to go up. Sale numbers are going to go up. Prices obviously going to go up from for spring naturally. And if there's any government incentives, that's going to pick the market right back up. And buyers, if they see a property like, it's better to buy now and jump into it, get it over with, because when the market picks back up, no one will be fast enough to catch that moving train. So yeah, so downtrend for the next 3 months, 6 months, right back up. And we would have been saying what recession, because if you drive past Yorkdale, parking lot's full.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's going to be a slow time from now until December. It's always like that, and I don't see anything improving. Right. Next week, I think they're going to keep the rates steady, which is good. Every time the market picks up in January, February, I think it's going to happen again this time again, especially if they announce any potential rate drops. It's not so much how next week if they're keep pausing it or not. It's how they project themselves. Sometimes they'll give some sort of prediction or a hint of what they're going to do next. So it really depends on how they say it. I think I agree. Next year it's going to pick back up 2024, so if you can buy now, I would buy it. But going back to, if you're a first time buyer, and let's just say if you live at home and you have cheap rent, COVID rent, maybe just chill for now. I don't know. I don't see an urgent rush unless you want to just catch the rocket. But again, that's sort of risky too, right?
Can I go next?
Go for it.
Why are we skipping
Cut the line. Cut the
We'll
line.
We'll circle.
No
back.
respect
Oh,
for the
no,
line.
Brother, man.
we'll circle back because I
He
feel
cut
like
I'll go
dibs.
last.
He
I don't
cut
care.
dibs.
no.
Let's
I
see.
feel
Let's
like
let him
my-
talk.
last.
I feel like my prediction is gonna be a downer. I don't want to end on a downer. That's why. So like I agree to a certain point, but I'm gonna my prediction is gonna go a little further. I feel it's gonna be like a 9 to 10 months slowdown for the market, even if the rates are discounted with Bank of Canada. The real estate market is not going to be reacting right away. My forecast is going to be right up until summer, maybe in the next fall. So it's going to be a 9 to 10 months hiatus. Price wise, it may plateau. It may not be a total drop, but from between now and winter, it's still gonna slip another maybe 5-10%. That's my prediction. Buyers will come back to the market come spring. However, they're going to look for deals. They're going to look for the best deals. Transaction volume is still going to be there, just like year to year. We have seen that even during COVID. Now that we've moved past COVID, I feel like buyers are on the fence, assessing to see what the rates are going to do and how the worldwide issues, politics is going to affect them and their finances.
Okay. So you think the market's going to stay flat?
That's
for the
not
next
negative.
8-9 months.
Well, he says he's gonna
No.
slip until
I think it's going to slip. So so for
In
8
9
to
months,
9,
you think it's going to slip?
it's slipping for 9 months.
no, it's slipping for 9 months.
Ooh.
So
yeah.
Okay, well,
So
let's
Let's
my
see.
prediction. Like
That's an
we
We're
Interesting.
gonna
Okay.
circle back to this in 9 months.
yeah. Let's see how all this ages.
Yeah, so I mean, like 9 to 10 months, even next summer, it's gonna slow down, especially in terms of the dollar value. We're not gonna see. We were spoiled. The market has been increasing for the past 25 years.
True.
But
Okay.
if the price is gonna plateau, I see that as a slowdown.
Okay.
Okay.
Because
All
we-
right. Rob, what do you think?
I'm hopeful for a more balanced market. We need to see buyers and sellers in a balanced market. This doesn't create the instability or volatility in the market. I think so. There's this pre-con launch I went to with Win the other day, and the top 5 banks are saying by 2024, 2025, you'll see rates go to a more sustainable 4.5%. I think that will spur a nice even market. But I'm hopeful. And the reason why I think I'm very positive about the market picking up is because we have a fundamental problem, which is the lack of inventory.
Yes.
You can't skimp around that. There's a huge housing supply inventory deficiency, and we know that.
Yeah.
And so I think, and the population, 500,000 people coming
Immigrants.
to Ontario, and I'm gonna guess
Yeah.
most are coming to Toronto, the GTA.
For sure.
We don't have enough houses to fulfill that demand. And they're coming with money too. It's not like they don't have anything, right? They're qualified to come to the country. They have money. They can spend. They can buy. They're pooling their resources to buy. So I'm hopeful the market's going to pick up this time next year, and we're going to be back in full swing.
But speaking
But
about
on a balanced market.
wouldn't you say right now is a balanced market?
I think it's a buyer's market.
I think so too.
I don't
Depends
think it's
on
balanced at
the
all.
region. I
Yeah.
find Markham pretty balanced.
I think it's a balanced market right now.
But overall, if you look at all the GTA, like Markham, sure, Richmond Hill, Vaughan, I could say, but look at Durham.
Well, I think
look at Durham. Like Durham is definitely not a seller's market.
Okay.
Typically
Fair enough.
Q-
Let's table that
Right.
conversation at what a
Yeah.
balance and what a buyer's market would be, and then let's let Win talk, and then
Yeah.
we'll come back to that
Go ahead.
conversation.
All right, I
Little
get my
brother-
chance, man. I
little
get my
brother,
chance
take
now.
it.
So I think my prediction for this upcoming next couple months. So right now we're in Q4. I think in Q4 it's going to be another slow quarter. Is it going to slip more? I don't think it's going to slip. It's going to stay kind of balanced in terms of pricing. Q1, I know you guys are, of course, like we all know the market trends. It's always going to be a little bit more activity. Is it going to be trending up? I don't think the price is going to trend up. More activity doesn't always translate to more pricing. Vice versa, I think in Q2, once we hit kind of summer,
Q2 would be April to June.
April, May, June.
yeah, like so that's kind of when I'm thinking even rates at that point. So they're gonna keep it steady from now until Q2, and then Q2 I think they're gonna start slipping. The rates are going to come down, and that's when prices are actually going to start shooting up. Not just gradually going up, because there's this lull right now where everyone's just like, oh, interest rates are this. But as soon as these, like right now, there's already projections from the big banks saying that, next year, 2024, rates are going to come down a little bit. And then when that happens, everyone's waiting for that.
Yeah.
But from a buyer's perspective right now, there's no point waiting for that point to happen, because once that happens, you've already missed the boat.
You got
You
it.
can't catch that train because it's already moving.
Yeah.
Right.
It's kind of funny.
You got to get on board now.
When Rado also mentioned about pre-construction, when I'm assuming everyone's talking about resale. So it's kind of two conversations, because the way I see resale versus pre-construction. So price wise,
Yeah.
for pre-construction, it's still going to increase.
Yeah.
Whereas
so?
resale, is going to plateau, and right now it's actually going to slip even more for Q4.
So why do you think the price is going to increase for pre-construction?
But it's just land costs and development charges.
It's very interesting that you mentioned that, because two projects that we participate in, PCC Pickering and Queensway, Joya. The prices have actually
Bravo.
been
They've
low.
decreased their price.
Yeah.
They decreased it.
They
It's
decreased.
lower than resale right now.
Yeah. In fact,
Well,
exactly. Yeah.
It's, honestly, I look at pre-construction almost the exact same as resale. I mean, if your price is too high, nobody's going to want to look at your project, right? And
Yeah,
it's
I
just
mean,
gonna
early in
sit.
the year, there was a
It's going to
project.
sit and sit and sit and sit. So even like, for
I
example,
had
like
to-
if the location is
Yeah,
I had
bad,
to
it's
bite my
good.
lip for that Young Street project. Just
Yeah.
say it.
so if there's,
There was that one project that was a little high.
yeah. So, I mean, like if we're looking at location, price, right? If it doesn't make sense, then it's just going to sit. And a prime example of that would be 900, being in a location where there's really not much around it, and it's still priced at $1,250 a foot, when others around there are selling around $1,100 a foot, right? So of course it's going to sit and it's not going to move.
And there's a lot of inventory
And
too.
there's a lot of inventory for
Yes.
that project.
Lots and lots of projects.
And that's the why. There's a lot of inventory, right? So pre-construction is relatively the same, right? As
So there's a
resale.
lot of projects right now overall. Like for whatever reason,
Yeah.
a lot of builders have chosen Q3 and mainly Q4 to launch. Not sure why, but they're all kind of like funneling. Like right now, like we've been to like 5-6 launches
events,
per
yeah.
week, right? Like it's
3 or 4
insane.
in the last few days.
Yeah, it's like
Not helping anyone's waistline.
I think you guys went to 2 in a day.
Oh my
Yeah.
god!
It was like 2 days ago,
That was
right?
fun.
Like it doesn't make any sense. Like
Launches
there's-
are crazy right now.
There are so many options for buyers that's actually creating confusion.
There's actually, as of right now, there are 5 times more construction cranes in Toronto than the next city. So
The next biggest city that
you
is
got
growing.
it.
But
Right.
one thing here is like, I mean, obviously builders not stupid. Why are they choosing to sell now? Like, there's obviously they're not going to sell something that's not going to sell. Right.
Well, they've also held back on releasing these projects during COVID.
So it's kind of like bottlenecking now.
Correct.
But I think in a couple of years when these start finishing, like that's going to increase the pricing because there's again so much more population coming.
Yeah.
through,
So right now, I mean, really, it then now comes back down to the same conversation that we were just talking about with balanced market versus buyer's market, right? Like, what is your definition of a balanced market, and what's your definition of a buyer's market?
Well, first of all, buyer's market is where you're able to negotiate prices, negotiate terms, and that's in favor of the buyer. Balanced market is where there's no leverage.
It's
The
both,
buyers
I'd
doesn't have
say.
leverage.
I think there's both. A little bit.
Yeah, I
The
think
buyer the buyer definitely has more leverage when you're the only one negotiating.
I think that's a buyer's market instead.
That is a buyer's market. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. It's a buyer's market. But if it's a balance where both parties have the same leverage, you don't have an advantage. That's a balanced market.
Yeah, I think I'll go with the seller's market first. I think seller's market was a few months ago when you bring an offer, and if it's at asking or at listing, they're laughing in your face and telling you to
That's
go
2021.
away.
That's all of 2021.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
At listing price, forget about it. Don't even
The
bother.
peak was 2022, January, February, March.
Yeah, so that's a
That
seller's
was
market.
complete seller's market.
Yeah. Buyer's market, they're coming in 10, 15% under.
Yeah.
And sellers like,
And conditions.
yeah, with financing, with home
Home inspection.
It's a whole slew of things.
Yeah, and
Well, okay, so that's
sellers
definitely
are considering it.
behaviorals. Like that definitely would describe like a buyer's market.
yeah,
Right. But I think what determines a buyer's market versus a balanced market is basically inventory versus buyers, right? Is there buyers? Is there enough buyers for the market? Right. If it's a buyer's market, then inventory levels are so much more than the amount of buyers there are.
yeah,
Right.
Too
so
much
right
supply.
now, correct. And how many days on market are these properties sitting on the market? Right. So we are so conditioned to think of a seller's market, and now that everything's slowed down, right? We all think it's a buyer's market when really it's actually, in my opinion, it's a balanced market because properties are still selling 30, 45 days, if you have the proper pricing, right? But if like a market like say Florida, right? It's a buyer's market in Florida where properties would sit for 6 months, right? So that would be what I would consider as a buyer's market, right? Because you have all the options to consider. And that's a buyer's market, right? Whereas balance right now, it's like you still have to act relatively quick. You still have to, be smart about what you want to do, right? Price it correctly, offer the right price, right? And it would sell.
for sure.
Okay, let's do some final thoughts since we're coming up on time. So I think we all agree that in the short term it's going to be kind of quiet, it's going to be kind of balanced, but in the long term things are going to pick up again. CMHC did an article last month that said real estate prices will be up 89% by 2030 because we're still short 3.4 million homes because of the immigration, right? So all good.
Oh, good.
Sounds good.
So investing in real estate historically doesn't mean future results, but typically property doubles every 10, 12 years for the past 30 years.
I think it
And
all
that's-
depends on your economic climate, but yes.
But that's from Warren Buffett. you gotta look at it from a long-term perspective. You buy into real estate, that's part of your holding, your investment strategy. Get into the market. That's the easiest way to invest. Figure out how to do it. Get some help. Partner up.
That's definitely one form of investing for sure.
Okay, cool, man.
All right.
All right, good pod, guys.
All right.
Good conversation, guys.
Okay, bye-bye.
See ya.
Thanks.
Bye.